fashion seemed like it's for the elite. It's for the rich eastern suburbs, older woman that is connected. So I had the perfect job, I was making a full-time salary, my Asian parents are super proud. All of a sudden, I was unemployed, in debt, a failure. And she said, look, Jay, nobody shops online. We need to fold the business. We need to shut it down. We're an over $100 million business.
You would have one of the strongest personal brands for business in Australia. What is it about personal branding and content that people wouldn't realise?
You gain this control. Like, you don't go there seeking opportunities. Opportunities come to you. The best moat that you have for your business is your brand. The moat around that is your personal brand. Wow, the whole world is your customer. And the thing is, I grew up in China and then I moved to Australia when I was 8. Actually, let's go right into the negative. I think it gave me a real chip on my shoulder. I finally told my parents that I quit my job, and it was 2 years after I actually did quit my job. Made this big sacrifice to immigrate for me. I was able to actually just let them fulfill this ultimate immigrant dream of actually paying them back and letting them retire earlier.
But I noticed in your team, you've got a lot of young, I assume, Gen Zers. What do you think people don't understand about that generation? Welcome to Chew the Fat. My name is Frank Reef, and I started this podcast after I sold a business for $180 million with my 2 brothers. It's part of my mission to raise $1 million for Children's Cancer Institute by writing a cookbook called Eat with Purpose. In this series, I'm going to bring different types of founders on for you can share in their journeys and their lessons and insights. I'm also going to bring on guests who are in the middle of scaling their business. I want to make sure the challenges are relative to you and make sure you can take insights that you can use in each and every day in your business. I hope you enjoy. Jane, what do we need to know about your early years that made you the person you are today?
Oh, okay. So I grew up in China and then I moved to Australia when I was 8. So I think one of the things that gave me, actually, let's go right into the negative. I think it gave me a real chip on my shoulder to have come here grown up feeling really different, not speaking the language. We also grew up really poor. And to be fair, I didn't even realize we were poor. You have that moment when you're like, oh fuck, I'm so much poorer than the other kids. But you don't realize straight away. And I think that makes you kind of want to work harder. It makes you want to prove yourself. So I think that's kind of shaped the person I am in a way. And ironically, I've always grown up wanting financial stability more than anything because we didn't have it. And then me thinking that would come in the form of a corporate job. So I was always gung-ho for a corporate job, which I tried and realized it wasn't for me.
What was the job again? I know you've talked about it a few times.
I worked at KPMG in auditing and then Ernst & Young in corporate finance.
Jesus.
Super dry.
Oh my God.
So boring.
I can imagine.
Not for me.
And for those
Sorry, no offense accountants out there. We need you.
And what I'm always conscious of when I have these conversations is, you've told the story before. So the last thing I want to do is just just tell me the story. But for those that don't know, do you want to give us a little snapshot of
TLDR.
What is Showpo and how'd you come about with it?
Showpo is an online fashion store, focusing on fashion for young women and women like me, young at heart, who, whatever. Anyway, so fun, affordable, on-trend fashion and across many categories, across many sizes. And it's all about confidence and making you feel good. So that's the business. And so my background is I worked in corporate, as I said, and I all of a sudden realized that I hated it. Thinking that I grew up thinking you only realize you have one path. I immigrated from China, and most people who have Asian tiger parents, my parents aren't even that bad, but tiger parents or just immigrant parents or just tiger parents in general, probably know that, can relate to the fact that they probably have a few job options: doctor, lawyer, accountant, actuary. Anyway, you don't even think to go outside of that route. So anyway, got the degree, got the high school mark, got everything that my parents possibly could have ever wanted for me, which, they literally left their jobs in China and sacrificed everything for me. They came here, worked in factories, worked as cleaners, worked under minimum wage so that they can put me, to get me to where I am. And then I realized I hated it. And then my friend came to me and she was like, let's start a pop-up store. And I was like, If I was, and I did start to have this like entrepreneurial bug that started to grow in me. But then I was like, on like fashion retail, like no way. Like fashion seemed like it's for the elite. It's for the rich eastern suburbs, older woman that is connected and knows anything about fashion. Like I didn't even, like what was your high school job? We just
working
did
at a
talk about
pizza
this.
shop.
That's right. I was working at McDonald's, and then I worked at a pub, at uni. So like I was only working in hospo, never in retail. Never really had that much of an interest in that. No passion for fashion. And when she said let's open a pop-up store, I was like, that's so random. I don't think we can do it. But then my theory, my like philosophy, one of them is like, if you don't have a better idea, just go with the one you've got and then pivot. So we're like, all right, let's do it. We opened up these pop-up stores, started stocking from emerging designers. So basically, it sounds nicer than it is, but basically going around to the markets, handing out business cards, being like, hey, do you want to stock with us? And then we managed to get like 50 people to stock with us. I don't know how. Open up these pop-up stores, made a classic mistake that most entrepreneurs make when they start, that they don't value their time. So then they think they're like break even or slightly profitable, but it's like, no, you're not. Like there's an opportunity cost of your time and the salary that you could be making that you're not factoring in. Anyway, it was a terrible business, but it really showed me how much I loved like creating something. And it made me realize that that's what I would want to do as a hobby, even if I didn't have it as a job, right? Anyway, so then we were doing it for 6 months. It was getting heaps of PR. It was building kind of this like buzz momentum, but it was not. It was still just breaking even or loss making. And then she was like, coerce. I say at the time as a 20-something-year-old, I was like, she coerced me into quitting my job. It's definitely me. I think I was like, I think I knew that I was really bad at accounting and they were going to fire me. And I was like, I better not. I better quit before they fire me. Anyway, but so in this YOLO moment, I decided to quit my job because it was also in the middle of the global financial crisis. I'm like, they're firing people. So it's time to go. Anyway, quit my job to work on that business full time. I know you wanted a TLDR. I'm going really deep into it. But anyway, so then I quit this job in this like so long suckers kind of way. I was like, bye, I'm going to start my business. It's going to take off. And then I spent that first month building that into an online store, which was so novel at the time.
Yeah, that's like cutting edge back then.
Yeah, this is 2010.
Yeah.
At this point, I hadn't even shopped online yet. I remember I made my first ASOS purchase like 3 months after I opened my own online store. And that was my first purchase. Anyway, and then so I started building this website on Wix, and then we had like almost 1,000 SKUs in my parents' garage.
Jesus.
I took photos on everything on myself on the Canon Digicam, uploaded it manually. Coincidentally, my business partner went on holidays for that month. She came back, and I was like, oh my God, okay, let me show you this website. Let me show you we're going online. I didn't even know the word pivoting, like the business term pivoting. It's like we're essentially pivoting. We're going online. Here's all the reasons why it makes sense. And she's like, look, I'm sick of this broke startup life. I've been secretly looking for a job.
Oh.
I'm going back to the corporate world. So she refused to. And I was like, come on, look at the website. Let's give this a red hot go. Because I've just quit my job that you coerced me into. Anyway, and she's like, look, Jay. She looked me straight in the eyes and she said, look, Jay, nobody shops online.
Oh.
And then so she was like, we need to fold the business. We need to shut it down. And I did not have the confidence at that point to do the business by myself. So then that was it. That was the end of the business. And I was like literally devastated. So all of us, like, think about it, like a month ago, I had the perfect job. And this job was like my EY job. 1,000 people applied for it. 6 people got it. And I was the only girl. Like it was a hard job to get into. So I had the perfect job. I had a promising side hustle. I was making a full-time salary. My Asian parents were super proud. All of a sudden, I was unemployed, in debt, a failure. And it was in the middle of the global financial crisis. So no one was hiring. I couldn't even get another job. So I did not know what I was doing. And the worst part was I did not even tell my parents I quit my job. because I figured that I'll tell them once I started I was like, my only goal in business was to make enough that I could be making more than my corporate job. So I can be like, look, I'm doing this. At least I'm happy. I never got there at that point. And so I was like, holy shit, what do I do? So then I just kept pretending to go to work in a suit. And that was the start of my Showpo journey.
I heard that story. As I was doing the research, I heard you were catching the bus every day with your mum.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, my mum also worked, so I had to get up early every day, put on this like full corporate suit. And then because my mum also worked in the city, I had to get the bus into the city with her.
Did you wait around all day and then get the bus home, or did you just get back on the bus
No,
to go
at
home?
least we didn't finish work at the same time. So at least so I started off like going to cafes because, you know, you have this romanticized idea of sitting in a cafe, writing down business ideas and strategizing. And then like I started doing that and they were like, oh, do you want to order something else? I'm like, I have no more money. Yeah. So then I started going to the state library, which is where I would go to study for high school and uni. And I was like, this really feels like I'm going backwards. And then so I just like kind of peered off, wandered back home. But then I got a job as a receptionist at a laser hair removal clinic. So despite and it was like a really demoralizing job because the boss was such a bitch. The learning there was she did teach me what not to do as a boss.
Love that.
But I do always give people the advice, like, do what I say, not what I do, because I tell people don't quit your job. Don't quit your job at a whim like that, because I had to go crawling back and get like a casual job anyway. Like cash is king. So keep that runway as much as you can. For me, it definitely helped me. Like thank God there was a GFC. Thank God I quit my job, because if I just stayed, otherwise I would have stayed in corporate and I would not have it would not have driven me to look for the next opportunity, which is what led to Shopo. So I did get lucky, but I feel like that's quite rare. So I wouldn't recommend it.
Fair. And so, I mean, you've now opened up the kettle, like, now I'm deeply intrigued,
We're
right?
deep. We're deep, yeah.
We're deep in the journey. So tell me, you've gone back to work. Then did you like reignite the side hustle, which became Showpo? Like, what's the connective tissue? Yeah,
so I basically had this one friend that had, at this point, only one friend that had a business. So then I think it's like selling like milk powder to China or something brilliant. And I was like, anyway, so I was like, I'll go and just, I thought I'd go and ask him for advice, but I think I was probably secretly trying to get a job from him because, you know, no one else is hiring. And then so I could learn from him. And then so I was like asking him this, and he's like, you know what, actually, I have a friend who also really wants to start an online fashion store. And I'm like, no, I don't really want to start an online fashion store because like, I don't know anything about fashion. I clearly suck at it. I just failed. And then he's like, no, go meet her. And then I was like, but then I realized I'm like, well, I can't keep trying to like ask that, like you can't ask someone for a favor, like you kind of ask someone for a favor or for advice. The advice I give you, you're like, no, what about this other thing? So I'm like, fine, let me just go meet her. When it doesn't work out, I'll come back to him and kind of more probably formally ask for a job. Anyway, so I met her. We just hit it off straight away. And so she already had experience in fashion. She already had a business. And I was surprised that she even wanted to work with me. But it's because I had this like bullshit PR that they gave me all this credibility. So she did want to work with me. So after meeting just a few times, over a few too many glasses of red wine, we came up with a name and concept for the business Showpony. And that night I came home and I was like still a bit tipsy, and I just started building the website. And I was like, in case it was alcohol talking, I wanted to show her that I could do it. I wanted to either show her like, wow, she's a real gun. She is going to get it done. Or it'd be too awkward for her to pull out. And I'm like, but I've already got this business. And so, so that's how I started. And then so she had contacts in the industry for suppliers. I, from the first business, had contacts in like models and photographers. And so that weekend we did the photo shoot. And then within the week we made our first sale. And that sale was to one of the model's friends who saw a Facebook post. But it proved 2 months after my ex-business partner said that nobody shops online, that people in fact do.
I love that. And where are we today with Showpo? So talk to me a bit about obviously things you're comfortable with in terms of like scale and size, just for the audience to understand, revenue, things like that, whatever you're comfortable with, of course.
But so for so long, our goal was to get to to get to $100 million by 2020. And we were on track for that. And then COVID hit.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so we hit it in 2021.
Nice.
And then so I've been growing since then. And I don't really talk about like sales. I don't want to give like, here's my like, hey, our competitors, here's our like P&L.
Yeah.
But basically, I think the thing that I lead with is like we're an over $100 million business.
Incredible. Amazing. And how big's the team size?
We are, well, this is the crazy thing. Like we are over 100 people globally, but even in our office, like before we're like at twice, we're like much, much bigger, twice the profit as what we were before COVID, when we thought we were almost empire building and we didn't understand efficiencies. Actually, I think people like to empire build in their own teams. I probably did too. The leaders that we had probably did too. And we just had these big fat teams. So we had maybe we would have like 60, 70 people in our head office. And now we have like 40.
Incredible.
And we're making like twice as much.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think one of the challenges that we're going to hear you talk about that is this, even when I ask the question, I sometimes feel bad because there's like some people like will romanticize, it's like, how big's the business? Oh, we got hundreds of team members. We're like, wow.
Yeah.
But actually like that's not necessarily a metric for
especially
success.
When COVID hit, you're like, oh, head count. Like full fixed costs.
Yeah.
I remember like looking when we first got our warehouse, which is huge. A lot of people come in, they're like, oh my God, your warehouse is like a Bunnings. I'm like, yeah. But then COVID hit and I was like, holy shit, look at all this stock sitting there.
Yeah, fuck, it's like a Bunnings.
Yeah.
I would have to say, Jane, I'm not just saying this because you're sitting here, you would have one of the strongest personal brands for business in Australia, like full stop.
Thank you.
So firstly, hats off to you for doing that. What is it about personal branding and content that people wouldn't realise?
Look, I think it's these days, I mean, I think everyone probably does know this, that it is more important than ever. I think once you have built a personal brand, you gain this control. Like you don't go there seeking opportunities come to you. And it's the best way to growth hack for your business. It is the best way, the best moat that you have for your business is your brand. And then one of the things that makes your business unique and the moat around that is your personal brand. It's almost like, I feel like you could be, these days there's international competition, there's AI, all these things are, you could feel like the world is against you. But having a personal brand, then you actually feel like, wow, the whole world is your customer and all the opportunities are there for you. So it is just so important. And the thing is, what's hard is, of course, it's hard and awkward and cringe to do your first content. But I think it's just like, it's all about just getting the content out there. And you've done a great job because we talked about this for our little pod swap, that you've only actually started this recently. Relatively recently, and it's come very naturally to you. And I think I got very lucky that I was doing YouTube back in the days and doing fashion content just because I was too tired to pay for models sometimes. I'm like, oh, we'll just start doing it. And it's, I even remember back in high school, a friend and I used to have, back on a camcorder, we used to make skits. Yes. and it would go to an audience of 2, just us. Yeah. And we would just be doing it for fun. It's like we're like the OG TikTokers. Yeah. And like on the one hand, I'm like, man, TikTok, if we were doing TikTok then we'd be fucking huge. But then I was like, thank God no one saw that. Yeah. So I'm a bit torn. But I think it's just about getting started. I think it's all about understanding like, what is it like? And not everyone is, because I think people are like, oh, it must be easy if you already have, because you can lead with, I sold a business for $180 million. And I can lead with, I've sold a business for, my business makes over $100 million or whatever. But I think it's like, think about the thing that makes you unique. And it could be anything. It's like, what do your friends come to you for advice for? What do your colleagues, if they're going to seek out your help, what is it going to be for? Like, or what do you want it to be for? What is something that you can just like, you know, talk like endlessly about. And I think just like double down on it. And I think the thing is, it's like no one really is really an expert on, not hardly. Look, think about all the people that are online. A lot of them don't know shit.
No, that's 100%.
You know, and a lot of it, there's not much original content out there. It's all about like putting your own spin on it, but there's not many original thought. And I don't think you need to be coming up with, like, no one's a fucking philosopher.
Yeah. 100%.
Just like pick a thought and then just like be vulnerable and share how it relates to you.
So even on that, like that piece there, you said we both met, you know, we can lead with these numbers. It's really interesting. Sometimes it's a blessing and a curse.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so much easier if you're starting and you can, it's because now you have to like, you also don't want to do things that are too small, right? As someone of the business of a bigger size. And I almost think it's easier to be like, showing the hustle, showing the grind, showing the DIY.
Or the relatable stuff.
The relatable, you know?
100%.
And now I'm like, so I'm just sitting here, you know, so there's so many things you could do. I sometimes look at the small business and I'm like, oh, if I had that business, here's what I would do.
And how much time do you spend on it, like with you and the team?
God, this is, oh my God. So I've got my brand girl sitting here. She's looking, she's like, she's looking at me like my stage on. She's like, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
You reckon I spend 12 hours a week on content? Yeah. Jesus.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I see when I hit myself back with the question, which is what don't people realize?
Yeah.
I think the game of content is from afar. You look at a video, you're like, oh, how hard could that be?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to scare people away, but my God, like it takes time, energy, reps.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I think we talked about it just on your podcast. It's like, it's almost reset. You know, like the game of business is very compounding, where it's almost reset, where like you put out a bad video and it's like, bow.
Yeah.
Like that sucks, you suck. And you're like, fuck. So yeah, 12 hours, I believe it. I'd spend close to that.
But I think it's like, and then don't let that scare, I don't want that to scare people who are like, how do I find 12 hours in my day? But I'm like, you have time to take a shit. You could post something, not you know, I mean, you could post something while taking shit. Generally, I'm like, you could go online, find a quote, write a thought about it and post something, right? You could, like, if you got time.
You don't have to start at 12 hours. You don't have to start at 12 hours. You can get there.
Yeah. And I think for me, just to go back to my thought about like how it's easier when you're starting to do something, because I think it's actually easier to be cringe when you're smaller. Because I have friends who have more established businesses and I have been like hounding them about doing content and building their personal brand since when they were smaller. And I feel like now it's almost harder for them now that they've got a more established business. And the thing is, had you started, like if you were to have started earlier, you've then clocked 10,000 hours, like that whole Tiger Woods thing, right? You've clocked all these hours. Now that you are more established, now that you can be more like polished, you still want to be like, I mean, I think you never want to be too polished, but you still want, you have crafted this skill a lot more, you know?
It's 100% true. It's I think one of the biggest challenges, and this we had like, sold the business, okay, I'm starting Instagram, and then you do it, and then like just because you did this thing well doesn't mean you now do this thing well. Now you're going to suck at this thing. And you got to eat a lot of humble pie to be like, you know, you're putting out a video and you're like, oh, thanks 7 people, my mum twice, you know, on 2 vices. You're like, oh my God, like, and I think I see this. Yeah, you see this trap. A bit, you know, there's some people out there who spend lots of money on followers and lots of money on butt farms because I think it's that ego. Bot farms, not butt farms. Calm down, Jane. You know what's a really interesting one is kind of shifting from the content because I think we share this, but I'm curious in your opinion. There's this rhetoric around about Gen Zers. And Gen Zers being lazy and like, you know, they just want everything blah, blah, handed to them. But I notice in your team, you've got a lot of young, I assume, Gen Zers. What do you think people don't understand about that generation?
Fuck, I wish I knew. I mean, I think it's hard to generalize Gen Zs. I think from a consumer point of view, I wonder if they follow trends more than we ever did. And I find I don't know if it's just because I was like just late to trends when I was that age, and I was just like not very trendy as like a youth. But I feel like these days as a consumer, like they're so like everyone having a Stanley Cup and everyone doing the Hailey Bieber nails and everyone doing these trends, and I wonder if it's like more important than ever. In terms of like, I guess from a team perspective, I think people are okay. On the one hand, it's like I was lazy as fuck when I was working at KPMG, and it was almost a competition to see who. Like I remember someone flexing that they went to the movies whilst at work. You know, someone took a nap in the storage room. I spent all my time on Facebook, which is why I became so good at social media. Just to have started Showpo. And I think you're going to get that at any generation, at any age. I think what the Gen Zs these days have is like they probably expect more instant gratification sooner, which I understand. Like I know I now expect it. I want more instant gratification as well. I think the kids these days, I think they have grown up in a very, in a way, lucky generation where anything feels possible. And it's in the more of a employer economy. And so what I mean is like, and I don't know if it's just because I went through the corporate route and it was very like a lot more doggy dog, you know? Whereas like, I feel like what I deal with now is it is an employer economy and you are fighting for the right, for the right staff members. So the work ethics that had to get instilled in me working corporate. So I don't know if it's a corporate thing. That's the thing. The work ethics that had to get instilled in me working corporate, and the people that are you see that come from corporate or are a bit older are different. I think the expectation when you get someone fresh out of school, I guess they don't really. They think like they have never had to deal with working in the office 5 days. That think if it's raining, they should just stay home. Like it's, you get those kind of, but that's not everyone. I don't want to generalize everyone, you know? So I think it's like I guess it's hard to navigate through, and I don't want to insult the Gen Zs out there because most of my team are Gen Zs, and I think it's just about like any generation finding the hardworking ones, because had to deal with a lot of dickhead millennials and boomers at work as well. So there you go. Is that a as political way to say it as possible?
That is so fine. I think okay. So there's a couple of threads there you touched on, which I couldn't agree more with. The idea of anything's possible, and through like the content that is. My big realization was, as I started interviewing a couple of these very young, ambitious people, I was like, oh, wow, we were listening to the same content, but I was just at like 25, but you were listening to it at like 13.
Yes, exactly.
You were listening to about abundance mindsets at 13 years old. And so by the time you get to like 18, like there is no kind of limits in your mind. Yeah. The amount of times I heard these young people talk about, what's the right word? Self-work.
They're just enlightened at an earlier age. I hate to admit it.
And I'm like, my God, I had not even considered that once. I was out in the city. I was having a good time. I was at festivals. I wasn't thinking about self-enlightenment just yet.
No.
And so it's, I think, you can't generalize is correct, but the ones who are ambitious are incredibly ambitious. Yeah. And I think, if you find the right ones and you can weaponize them, they are, because they come with a blank slate, you don't have to go and, try and unwind baggage of all these other corporate jobs. It's like they are like good and ready to go. They use their high school as like pre-mental training to like get out there. Yeah. So I think the people who have that perception, provided you're looking at the right ones, completely misconception.
Maybe it's just like whatever personalities they have, whatever like characteristics they have, the technology, society and technology just amplifies it. It's like you could have someone, so with ChatGPT, if someone is already lazy, then it makes them lazier. But if someone is like, knows, like it's truth seeking, like, okay, my 5-year-old, I don't want to talk about, but he's like, sometimes we're like, we're just like, I need a minute, right? You don't want to give him TV, but you just need a minute. You're like, here, go talk to ChatGPT. He's like, why is something sweet and something sour? Like, what is what is bigger than infinity? Like, what is the biggest thing like in the universe? I'm like, oh my God, he'll just go and like use it to like learn and truth seek. And I think if it just, amplifies like whatever they already have.
100%. I love that. What's bigger than infinity? I'm just imagining him sitting there spitballing with ChatGPT. That's so
He's
good.
just like Buzz. Like, I was like, well, there's no infinity and beyond. And he was like, wow.
That's so good. Let's talk about Shark Tank for a second. Mm-hmm. How did you get onto Shark Tank? Like, what was the series of steps that got you there?
Okay, like realistically, nothing. Like they called me.
Love that.
I got this email and it said Shark Tanks. And I was like, oh my God, it's this scam phishing email. It's like, and do you want my credit card to buy like some Apple gift cards? Like I thought that's where I was going. And then, but I was like, I looked up the email of the person who, and it was a production company. And I looked it up. I'm like, okay, that seems real. And then so we did a call and she's like, yeah, we want you. I'm like, really? And then so there was no step I took. I didn't apply for anything. But the actual steps that got me there, and because I look at the other people that got there, like the Sabri in the first year and Davey, we're all people that have built businesses and we have obviously, but we put ourselves there by making content and then building a personal brand. And I think, and then that's when they could see like, okay, so this is what they stand for, and they obviously can speak on camera. And people resonate with them. And I think those are the things like you don't know, you can't always do things because it has a direct result, right? And so it is just sometimes just got to follow your gut and do what you want and do what feels right.
Love that. And has it been a good experience? Like you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah. What are like kind of the biggest learnings from that? Because it's such a different thing, like going from running your business to all of a sudden you're in this room and they're like, from what I understand, furious pitching all day. Like what are the learnings for you?
The learnings for me, there's definitely like lots I've just like learned from the other shafts. But do you mean like the pitching?
Yeah, I guess like because it would, I imagine it really like you're focused in the world of Showpo and it's very fashion. But now you're getting pitched all these different random bits and pieces and ideas from all these different sectors, and seeing all these different founders. Like, is there learnings that come from that? Yeah,
I think the thing that I've realized the most, and this combined with doing the podcast, I think the most important thing is like, it's ultimately like what's the problem that this business tries to solve? Does the product solve it? Like, is there like product market fit, how important it is? And then because often you could see an amazing founder, but they've just backed the wrong product, and the product is just like not that amazing, not that scalable, and they're just like slogging away at this thing, but the founder is so much bigger than that. And then you also find sometimes it's like the product in itself is great, but are they the right person to solve that problem? And they're just not often they're not. So, and I think that it's just literally those two factors. Finding a right investment is this the right product, and is this the right founder? Like, is this the right problem to tackle? Does the product solve it? And is that the right founder? And that's easier than it sounds, but that's ultimately what it is. And I think one thing that like, in terms of like I almost find that like, in terms of being on the podcast, like having a podcast, speaking to so many successful founders, I think sometimes founders, I don't know if it's like almost like having a baby when you just kind of, your brain has a chemical that helps you forget about the trauma.
Yes.
Your wife might talk about this, but then it's like maybe you do you glamorize maybe, you think fondly of the struggles,
100%,
right? Like you talking about you and your brothers folding pamphlets with no air conditioning.
Yes.
And you're like, that was a magical time. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm just like at 3 a.m. handing out flyers on the way back from the cross after a big night out, because why not? Anyway, what was my point? Anyway, so you speak to founders on the podcast and everyone is just so successful, and I feel like you almost feel like, wow, business it almost feels like it's too easy.
Yeah.
And then you're like, not too easy, but you're like, wow, like you forget about the struggles.
Totally. I mean, you're seeing like one success after another. You're like, oh, this is great. Yeah. It's the survivorship bias. You're not seeing all the wasteland of all the ones that get crushed.
Yeah. But then actually going on Shark Tank and hearing some of the pitches, and there's people going to still like selling at the markets and like struggling with sales and like talking about how hard it is. It does kind of like remind you of like how hard entrepreneurship is.
Totally.
Which I know sounds obvious, but it is it is quite not confronting, but it's a good reminder of that.
I couldn't agree more. I think that I've had to re-go through those learnings. Exactly like you're saying. You go through the journey. How many years into Showpo are you now?
15.
15, right? And so it's kind of you've got a couple of key memories and you've kind of glamorized them. You can't quite remember them. And then we had the same thing with Real Base. Started again, and at kind of the end, there's almost like I don't know. It's like almost like a guilt where you're like, oh, why can't everybody have kind of won in this exit or whatever, and then you start again, and then you realize for us when we started, I thought everybody would be like, oh my God, you guys have got this, you've done it before, and you go in and you're like, oh wait, all these people are doubting you, and you're like, oh wait, this person was right, and you're like, oh, I remember now, oh, everything's still against you. You're like, this is what it felt like.
Yeah, and it's all new sets of challenges because there's more competition than ever.
Yeah.
There's more knowledge out there. It's. Back when we would have started, it's how do you know what to do, right? All that information is out there now, but then it's everyone else also has that information. So it's hard,
If you had to start a business tomorrow, can't be Showpo, and you had to start again, what would you be doing differently?
Ooh, I mean, I would do, I think I would know how to take more risks and go faster. Because we definitely took, the business took almost over a year to get momentum. Once it got momentum, it got to we went from a 60K run rate to $1 million run rate in 5 months.
Oh,
so
wow.
To be able to I want to get to not do the first almost year and a half of slumming it. So get past that. I think focus more on I think I would go definitely, I would, sounds bad. I would try and I think I would try and start a business that doesn't require any staffing as much as possible. Minimal staffing, and then just automate as much as possible. I definitely wouldn't want the next business not to be I would love to I don't know. I sound bad.
No, I mean that's fair. You're trying new learnings. I'm not saying we don't like the people we're hiring. That's fine.
But I think I think I'm at a different age to not be
Well, that was one of my the primary drivers for our next business. The last one we had 400 people, and Jack and I were
oh God,
how do we? We're how do we do this with maximum 50 or amazing? What if it'd be 20? Just
I feel a sweet spot is I think of the time where a really nice number is 12.
Yeah,
that was a nice
you can still have a dinner table. Yeah, you can talk. Yeah,
and then you can easily just treat the because it's the bill doesn't get too big. You don't have to try and move everyone. And I was much more generous back then.
You know what?
Pretty generous.
But it's so true. It's literally so true. We're taking the team out for steaks and stuff. I'm oh yeah, and the reason you can't do it when you're at that scale is because let's have a steak. That's $40,000. You're oh fuck.
Yeah, the business case for that.
That's right. Exactly. What's changed in your life since you had kids?
God. Well, so my biggest thing is so kids and COVID happened at the same time for me.
Beautiful.
And then before that, I had really high, my risk profile was really high, and I really was just quite brazen, feeling that there was no risk in the business. Things were growing double growth figures year on year. It was just, and it honestly felt quite easy. COVID hit, I had kids. My risk profile completely changed. It became way more risk averse because now I've got a family kind of depending on me. Also, my partner joined the business. So then it's he didn't even have this job as a, other source of income. We were all kind of really all in. Anyway, and then also we got when COVID hit, we had all these party dresses, and then we made a few other bad business mistakes, and it just kind of all compounded, and we were just sales just the first day that COVID really hit, everyone's sales kind of fell off a cliff, but I just don't think ours picked up anywhere I don't think ours picked up anywhere as much as what other businesses did because of and we were overstocked, we got into a bad discount cycle, and then so that just at the same time of kids and COVID, it just kind of changed my whole perspective on everything. And then I come back from COVID, back into the office, And it feels like the team that we have is like younger than the team before. And I feel much older. So that's also something. I'm like a generation. I'm officially, and then, before it didn't feel like there was a Gen Z millennial thing.
Oh yeah, there is.
And now there definitely is. So I also feel older.
Yeah.
Yeah. So risk profile changed, feel older. And I think this whole like just having to really trying to just value your time. That's why I also think the business building a personal brand has been great, because I used to go to a lot of networking things, which I just don't have the capacity to do anymore. But now that you have your personal brand, like that opens, I remember I used to join these like entrepreneurs groups and to get business advice, and I was like, I was finding it, I couldn't find the time to do these monthly meetups and all that kind of stuff. And then one of the guys in it, he's like, Jane, like you've got a personal brand now. That's your Rolodex to the world. Just use that. You can pick up the phone and call anyone, so don't worry about it.
Love that. That's good. I've got one last question for you, Jane. As you reflect on the journey you've had so far, what are you most proud of?
I'm actually most proud of the fact that, okay, so more on a material level, one of my most proudest thing was when I finally told my parents that I quit my job, and it was 2 years after I actually did quit my job. So it was Father's Day. I took them up to the Center Point Tower, and it was like their first fine dining experience. And I told them, but the way I told them, I had to be extra safe. So I was like, I bought you guys a car. I bought them a brand new car, and it's my, at this point, my parents have never had, they've only had secondhand, like an old Toyota Camry kind of thing. And then so I bought them a new BMW, the cheapest one, like a 50K one, but still, like a brand new BMW. And then I was also like, P.S. I quit my job 2 years ago. Also, as soon as I can, I'm going to pay off your mortgage. Like I didn't have the money, but I'm like, I'm paying off your mortgage. I like really sandwiched that. And they were like, what? Like, how did you quit your job? So they couldn't even believe it. So that was like one of my proudest moments, that I could afford them. They took this opportunity. They made this big sacrifice to immigrate for me. And I was able to like actually just let them fulfill this like ultimate immigrant dream of actually paying them back and letting them retire early and like just having a good life. And yeah, it really is the immigrant dream. So that is one moment. And I think me personally, all I really wanted was it's not about like really what you have now. It's about like, think about like, I feel like your 20s, your 30s, that's such important years in your life. And instead of spending it hating my job, and the thing about like working corporate is I don't think I necessarily even hated it, but there was just such a culture of hating it.
Yeah.
Like it was cool to bitch about how much you hate accounting, and I'm like, I guess I hate accounting. Like I didn't know I hated accounting. Anyway, and then so I could have spent my whole time hating it, hating my job, not having a purpose, and just being like, it's a means to an end. But I was able to just actually like successfully shift my career trajectory to be able to provide myself like the best like 15 years possible. Like, we talked about it opens your life up to so many opportunities that you wouldn't have anywhere. The things that I've done are insane, and I can't even believe it. And I pinch myself, and I'm just this, I guess, a feeling of pride that I've done this, that I was able to do this, and like, yeah, and I guess also being a shark, like that's so cool. So 3 things.
I love that, Jane. I love that you just there's so many, and I want that. That's it's when you talk about that, your face lights up, and it's that moment there that I wish people knew about business. You know, it's that magic of the vehicle, like we talked about, of all these different things you get to experience in your life, and get to have that purpose and be proud of it. Jane, been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.